Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Creative Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So apparently, not done with leaks just yet. Yeah, quite a few came out in the past 24 hours, and here we go. Faramir, Steward of Gondor. I should, again, just reiterate, hey, these are leaks. They have not been officially confirmed from what I've seen by WotC. We'll have to see when the actual, looks like this one is going to be in the pre-cons potentially. We have to see when the pre-cons come out if this one is real. I am really hoping this one is real, though, because this brings back one of my favorite mechanics. Let's go into it. A 2/2 human noble for 1 white blue. Whenever a legendary creature with mana value 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you become the Monarch. That's right, Monarch is back in a big way. There are very few commanders that actually deal with Monarch, and this one deals with it in a fantastic and flavorful way. Also, on top of that, at the beginning of your end step, if you're the Monarch, you get 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. So on top of drawing your extra card for being the Monarch, you also get some humans, which is just fantastic. Extra value. Who doesn't want that? Now, with this kind of a commander, I can see it being kind of like a legendary tribal blink deck, which I think is really cool. So taking advantage of LTBs, ETBs, you know, for legendary creatures out there, having some very powerful creatures with some very powerful effects too. And yeah, having a bunch of blink in the deck as well. And of course, you are in the best 2 colors for blink, which of course was probably intentional with this, you know, caring about ETBs from legendary creatures. So you can really take advantage of that as well. Plus, yeah, there's ways to take advantage of those tokens that you are creating as well. Overall, I really like the design of this commander. Again, low to the ground, introducing Monarch, but introducing it in a way kind of like when you want it to come into play, essentially, is that you don't have to get that legendary creature out with mana value 4 or greater until you're actually set up to do so. If you want to protect yourself because you're like, okay, well, I need some, deterring effects, not allowing my opponents to get through on me to ensure that I can actually keep the Monarch. So that can be a way to go about it. On top of that, yeah, just powerful legendaries. What's not to love about that? So I can see this commander being a really exciting one. And yeah, again, I forgot to say, sorry, a big thank you to MTG Design for your fantastic website and allowing me to create this, custom version of the card. Now, with all that said, of course, on episodes like this, well, I want to reiterate, there is a card listing in the description below for the cards I'm talking about on this episode. But if you are not convinced that this is an actual card, do not pick up any of those cards yet, because, yeah, this is a leak. To my knowledge, it has not been officially confirmed. That being said, it looks incredibly legitimate. Yeah. But, yeah, if you are convinced, maybe consider picking up some of those, because I can see this being a pretty popular one. People love Monarch, and, yeah, I'm definitely one of those players. So now on this episode, again, I'm going to be going through the budget buys cards that are less than $1 and the Pricier picks cards that are more than $1. Let's start things off with the budget buys, and there are a lot of fantastic ones that work very well with this commander. And one of the first ones that came to my mind was, of course, Brago King Eternal, the King of Blink. A 2/4 Flying Spirit Noble for 2 white blue. When it deals combination to a player, exile any number of target non-land permanents you control to return those cards to the battlefield under their control. Yeah, this is huge. This is massive. This is like, hey, every single one of your things that isn't a land, let's get that ETB again. So, of course, if you blink any, other non-land permanent that is a legendary creature with mana value 4 or greater, great. You get that ETB from your commander to give you Monarch. So, whether that's, I guess it can't really be the first time you're getting Monarch because you'd have that Brago in play, or that other legendary as well. But essentially, I guess if your commander came in after them, then sure, there you go. But yeah, regardless, if, an opponent had to take, Monarch from you, well, you can get it back automatically, which is pretty great. And again, being able to get it back for your turn is nice, or maybe some other blink effects as well to essentially deny opponents of getting that Monarch benefit. So keep that in mind too. Moving on, OG the Exquisite Blade, a 2/3 human monk that has enters the battlefield. You gain 2 life and scry 2, so some nice, life gain, life padding. And then scry 2, that's some good card selection there. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, exile up to 1 target creature control returns to the battlefield under its owner's control. Basically, hey, a free cloud shift every single time you cast your second spell. That is great. That is yet another way to obviously either utilize this ETB or another ETB from your other creatures, and yeah, very much take advantage of, again, your commander's trigger or other triggers that might be happening as well. Moving on, Abdel Adrian Gorion's Ward, a great card in a Blink deck, an incredible card in a Blink deck, a 4/4 Human Warrior that enters the battlefield. Exile any number of other non-land permanents you control until Abdel Adrian leaves the battlefield. You get a 1/1 white soldier creature token for each permanent exiled this way. Yeah, exile quite a bit of them. You can exile basically all of your other creatures that have ETBs, and one simple blink effect on this will bring all those back. And then bring this back, and then you can exile whatever you want again. This is a great kind of like blink storage is kind of the way that I look at it. Regardless, a way to also generate a ton of tokens too. Yeah, Abdel Adrian is a fantastic blink commander in its own right, and a fantastic card in a blink, especially a blink deck that is legendary tribal CMC 4 greater matters deck. Next up, Yorion Sky Nomad. This can do a ton of work for you. 4/5 Flying Bird Serpent, because that's the thing that says when it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those cards to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Just a massive, kind of like Abdel Adrian, giant blink effect, but instead of it being like storage, it's like, hey, you're temporarily gone. Now you're all back. Again, it comes back at the end step, or they all come back at the end step, which is fantastic. Again, you can get that Monarch back when you need it. You also can get, well, I guess with this, you could just, blink this in a desperate situation to save your entire army from, say, a board wipe. Now, this might get taken out, but again, you're able to save everyone else, which is huge. So keep that in mind. But yeah, overall, a great way to really take advantage of blink spells and take advantage of your commander's trigger and other triggers as well. Moving on, a legendary creature that does not have anything to do with blinking, but is a good deterrent for you as well. A 2/4 human soldier with vigilance that's Baird, Steward of Argive. Creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. A great combat damage deterrent, again, on a legendary creature that costs 4 or greater, which is 4. But yeah, a way to say, hey, if you're going to attack me to try to get Monarch, you need to pay for it. You need to pay 1 for each creature attacking. And usually that's enough deterrence for opponents to be like, I'll swing elsewhere. I don't really want to pay for all my little tokens or whatnot. Not that they've got 1 creature they get to run you. Yeah, they might pay that, but still, an extra taxing effect can really do a lot of work for you throughout the game. Again, as a deterrent, again, as a way to just pull resources away from opponents, that can be huge. Next up, another one that doesn't really do with blink, but kind of helps, with your ETB situation, Venzer Shaper Savant. This one's just a great one to actually blink itself, but also, yeah, can blink other things as well. Not blink, bounce. 2/2 legendary creature human wizard. 4/2 blue, flash, enters the battlefield, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. So a way to temporarily get rid of something that opponent has potentially. Again, I don't really want that Wrath to go off right now. Here, have it back in your hand. Or, you bounce a permanent that is pesky back to its owner's hand, or bounce one of your own again that has an ATB that you want to use and abuse, maybe like Yorion, or, yeah, just take advantage of your commander's trigger with something like this by bouncing them back to your hand and then recasting it later, so keep that in mind. Next up, I kind of mentioned this one earlier, but again, you are in like the perfect color pairing for blink effects. Cloud Shift is a great one, very simple, very effective. 1 mana, exile target creature control, turn to the battlefield under your control. Again, for this 1 mana, you get, whatever ETBs your creatures have, all the ones I've already listed. Again, Yorion, something like that could be just fantastic to get all the ETBs, but of course, keep in mind as well, obviously, yeah, just a way to get Monarch back again for just 1 mana. This card is huge, and also a good way to, protect your creatures from target removal as well. Moving on. Soul Herder, a great repeatable blink effect that is free once this is down. A 1/1 spirit that says whenever a creature is exiled from the battlefield, you get a counter on this. So this can be massive in absolutely no time. But more importantly, at the beginning of your end step, you may exile a creature you control, return to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this one, obviously not legendary, obviously not CMC 4 greater anyways. But yeah, a great repeatable blink effect for you to ensure that, well, you can just keep getting that Monarch back whenever you need it, as long as you've got a legendary creature in play that costs 4 or greater. And of course, again, use and abuse all of your ETBs in the best way possible. Next up, Heroes Podium. This card is incredible in legendary tribal decks. Each creature you control gets ++1 for each other legendary creature you control. That is huge. Your legendary creatures can be absolutely massive again, be even better blockers to make sure that your opponents can't get through on you, be obviously better attackers as well to decimate your opponents. Also, on top of that, this can generate you some card advantage as well. Pay X, tap, look at the top X card of your library, reveal a legendary creature card from among them, put it in your hand, rest of them your library in a random order. Again, it's a nice way to pull legends off the top of your deck. Again, if you're running enough legends in this deck, chances are pretty likely if you put a decent amount of mana into that, you are gonna hit something and maybe even have a choice to get exactly what you want. When it comes to choices, though, yeah, this is definitely a great choice for your deck. Urza's Ruinous Blast, a legendary sorcery. So, yeah, you're going to have a legendary creature or, planeswalker in play to cast this, but you will exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. Again, you are focusing on having a ton of legendary permanents in play. Your opponents probably don't. They probably have their commander and maybe one more other one, or maybe just not. Maybe just their commander. Get rid of absolutely everything they have except their commander, if they even have that in play. And it's basically just a one-sided board wipe for 5 mana. Yeah, this is incredible. And again, a great way to deter attacks by getting rid of all their things. So protect yourself with this. Moving on, make sure again you keep in mind that you are going to be making a good amount of humans throughout the game. So there are ways to take advantage of that. Obviously, anthems are great to pump them in your entire team. But obviously, yeah, something like Mass Appeal that is more human-specific can be great. 3 mana, draw a card for each human you control. Yes, there are a good amount of humans in this deck, as it is, again, a good amount of legendary humans that you can be utilizing, but also, again, you're going to be making those tokens. And again, this does not specify non-token, obviously, so for 3 mana, you can very easily draw, once you're set up properly, once you've really gotten things going, like 10 plus cards. So, yeah, this can be a massive card. Speaking of 3 mana, well, 3 mana for the suspend, Chronomatic Escape. Basically, suspend this away for 3, or cast it for 6 if you really want to get it right away. Until your next turn, creatures can't attack you, remove from the game with 3-time counters on it. Basically, you keep exiling this, and it keeps being recast, exiling and keeps being recast every 3 turns. So because of that, well, it's going to be hard for your opponents to attack you on every 3rd turn. They can't do it, which is absolutely fantastic. And again, needing to protect yourself and being able to say, you know what? You can't get the Monarch. No matter what you do, you can't get the Monarch this turn. Sorry, it's mine. It's mine, all right? So yeah, again, you can just get it back, from your opponents by blinking, but you can also just say, let's make sure we have some attack deterrents like Baird in this to ensure that they're not getting through in the first place. But now that we talked about the budget buys, and again, a reminder, all these cards are in a link in the description below. Let's move on to the pricier picks, again, cards that are more than $1. And well, one of the first ones in the pricier picks, again, in my mind, was most definitely Thassa Deep Dwelling, an incredible legendary creature in a blink deck. That does cost 4 or more, so there you go. 6/5, God of Indestructible. Devotion is less than 5. You're not a creature. That's fine. It's fine. You can get the blue Devotion up. Beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target other creature control and return to the battlefield under your control. And then pay 3 in a blue, tap another target creature. This helps out in a lot of ways. First up, yes, can be a heavy hitter, being a 6/5 Indestructible. Even if it's not a creature, it's not that big of a deal. But anyways, yeah, being able to just basically a free, repeatable blink effect, kind of like that Soul Herder, that is great. Again, especially on indestructible legendary creatures. So blink something else, get that Monarch back in another ETB, have fun with that. On top of that, tapping creatures down, that can be great, yes, to get your creatures through, but also as attack deterrence as well. If you're like, okay, this player only has 1 creature that can actually get through on me. I want to make sure I keep the Monarch. They're probably going to swing at me with that creature. Let's pay to actually tap that down. It's not coming back. Moving on. I wish Neza Hall was more budget friendly. This card was so budget friendly when I started this channel. This is actually the first commander I ever did a deck tech on. I love you, Neza Hall. 7/7 Elder Dinosaur. The spell can't be countered. You have no maximum hand size. Whatever opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card. Discard 3 cards. Basically blink it, and then it comes back at the beginning of the next end step. Tapped. Neza Hall is a value engine in so many ways for you. First up, a 7/7 that can't be countered, that's just nice. No maximum hand size. Now you can just fill your hand to your heart's desire, and you can keep, everything. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you draw a card. That's going to happen a lot. A lot. It's kind of like a Mystic Remora in a way, essentially, but even better, obviously, because your opponents can't pay to stop that, even though no one ever pays the 4 mana for Mystic Remora. So essentially, hey, draw an absurd amount of cards. If they ever try to deal with it, discard 3, blink it, comes back at the end step. This is really hard to take out, and again, it is a way to trigger your commander every single time this comes back in. So if your opponents ever take Monarch from you, you can very easily get it back. Next up, Yamiji, who bars the way, a 4/4 legendary creature spirit for 7 mana. Whenever a legendary permanent or other than Yamiji bars the way is put in a grave from play, you return the card to its owner's hand. This one, keep in mind, does benefit your opponents, but it also benefits you. So when your legendaries get taken out, and again, you're in a legendary tribal matters deck, you're going to be getting a lot of them right back to your hand. So you can get them back out to really, again, use and abuse their ETBs to ensure that you can get your commander's trigger again and again. Next up, a Far God of the Polis. One that can really take advantage of all the blinking that you're going to be doing. 6/5 Indestructible God, devotion to 7, not a creature. At the beginning of each upkeep, if you had any other creature in the battlefield under your control last turn, draw a card. Again, every single upkeep, not just your own. So this counts a lot of card draw. Again, if you're going to be blinking here and there and everywhere, or just flashing a creature in like Venzer, there you go. Draw on your opponent's turns as well. This can give you an absurd amount of card advantage throughout the game. And again, keep in mind, just on its own, 4 mana. So there you go. If you play it, cool. Your commander is going to trigger. Next up, Elshnorn Mother Machines. A 4/7 Phyrexian Praetor with Vigilance that says if a permanent enters the battlefield because they trigger ability, permanent you control the trigger, ability triggers this whole time. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger your opponent's control. Don't cause abilities to permanents your opponent's control trigger. We got there. So essentially, this shuts down your opponent's ETBs and doubles up yours, which is massive. Again, it's not going to really matter with your commander's ETB trigger because you can't really get the Monarch twice. So there you go. But this will double up all your other fantastic ETBs, so keep that in mind. Yeah, this is a really good, a really brutal card, one that is nearly $30. So yeah, if you got the budget for it, it's a good include. But if you don't, yeah, that's okay, and that's very understandable. I don't play with expensive cards like that either. Moving on, Annoyed Procession. Speaking of expensive card, $40 for this one right now in Championship 4. If an effect would create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice as many of those tokens instead. So again, like Abdel Adrian, those kinds of effects can make you a ton of tokens, but also, yeah, your commander again, when you're the Monarch, you're going to be making a good amount of those human tokens. Again, 2 at the end step. So doubled up to 4 every single turn, you can make a massive army in no time. And again, if you've got some, anthem effects, other kinds of things, like Dictate of Heliod, those kinds of things, or that brand new tree that is really powerful. Hey, let's pump our army. Let's make our army, including our legendary creatures, more powerful, and our little tokens as well. Next up, Displacer Kitten. Yeah, this card, is pretty. I'm not gonna say broken, but brutal. Whenever you cast the creature spell, you exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, it turns to the battlefield on its own control. Every single one of your non-creature spells now comes with a blink. If you're casting a blink non-creature spell, you get 2 blinks essentially. This is pretty absurd. Again, it is a great way to ensure that you are going to get your commander's trigger. If you have any other legendary in play that costs 4 or more, cool. Blink it, bring it back. And also, of course, just take advantage of all the ETBs you can. Again, like this plus Yorion is just gross because then you get all your ETBs again and again and again. Same thing with Abdel Adrian. Yeah, Displacer Kitten's very powerful. Next up, Teleportation Circle. With this higher budget, obviously you've got access to something like this and Conjurer's Closet, which are very similar. Behavior end step eggs up to 1 target artifact creature control, turns the battlefield under its owner's control. Essentially a free blink at the end of the turn, again like Soul Herder or Thassa. The more and more effects like this you have, the more you can really take advantage of fantastic ETBs. You also have access to Ghostly Prison and these kinds of effects. Like, Propaganda, I think, is another one, essentially. Creatures that can't attack you unless your controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. That is huge. That is massive. That is a great attack to turn. Again, Baird makes them pay 1, 2 is a lot more than that per creature. Opponents usually can't pay that for their entire army or even for a couple of creatures. Again, they have to dedicate a lot of resources to just try to attack you, and it might not be worth it, even if they're trying to get the Monarch. And then finally, my goodness, I brought this up on so many episodes now because Wizard just keeps printing commanders, essentially give card advantage to various Age's Insight. Legendary Champion, you draw a card except the first you draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. Doubling up the Monarch's trigger is great. Again, basically instead of just drawing 1, draw 2. Obviously it doubles up all your other card draw as well, especially if you've got, some maybe ETBs that give you some card advantage as well. I mean, also consider that Nezahal just becomes absolutely even more gross with this in play. Every single time your opponents cast a non-creature spell, draw 2 instead of 1. Yeah, it's going to be nearly impossible for them to ever take Nezahal out with that. Yeah, this Thought Reflection and the budget buys as well. These are cards that just keep coming up, apparently. Regardless, overall, a very exciting, brand new potential commander. Again, take everything I've said with a grain of salt because this is a leak. It has not been officially confirmed from what I've seen from Wizard, so please, please, please keep that in mind. That being said, I really hope that this one is real because, Yeah, Monarch coming back in a big way. I absolutely love that. Monarch is a really, really cool mechanic, one that does incentivize players to actually get out there and attack, and incentivizes you to say, hey, let's just build a legendary 4+, mana value deck that utilizes blink effects in some really effective and fun ways, and can take advantage of making a lot of tokens too. So I think it's a really fun concept. Again, I really hope this one's legitimate. If it is, or if you believe it to be, again, make sure you check out that card list link, and also make sure you're staying tuned to this channel for more exciting quick take spoilers and maybe even some more leaks coming up. And with that, this episode is coming to a close, so let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support.